What's up everyone? Today I'm going to be revealing what I want for macOS in 2023. macOS lacks in some ways that iOS has, making iOS and iPadOS a lot better in my opinion. I'm going to be showing what I want in macOS in 2023 with the release of macOS 14. Now I'm pretty sure a lot of us can agree that the new System Settings app is a little bit eh. If you dig into the new Settings app inside of macOS 14 and dig into iPadOS settings, you'll know that they are not consistent despite the macOS 13 settings as being advertised as consistent. I want Apple to make sure everything is consistent across the board because Stage Manager is in two places. Here it is on iPadOS and here it is on macOS. Apple should find a place for it, and I actually kind of did my own redesigning inside of Canva. So this is what I want the settings app to kind of look like. You can see I made a lot of drastic changes, and this is going to make it a lot more consistent with iPadOS. No, I do not want System Preferences back. System Preferences was a nightmare. I also don't like that you can't adjust it to be wider. Next up, we need a more consistent music app. I do not like the way Apple has the music app on macOS compared to iOS and iPadOS. The iOS and iPadOS ones feel a lot more fluid, but then we have the macOS music app, which just feels downgraded a lot. The lyric scrolling is a lot different than from iOS and iPadOS. We don't have Apple Music Sing. If Apple could add those, or even better, redesign the music app to make it a lot more consistent with iOS and iPadOS, that would be a pretty great win. Also same with the podcast app, because I do not like the look of the music app to begin with. Let's get this over with. The calculator app. I don't like the look of it. Make a calculator app for the iPad, import it with Mac Catalyst. Really that simple. You just take the iPhone calculator, optimize it for the iPad, then take that iPad calculator, put it on the Mac with macOS Catalyst, then you're done. Just add all the features that the Mac calculator has, like the weird speak text feature, and then you're good. I just don't like the looks of the calculator. It looks like an app from like the 1900s. Alright, I promise this is the last thing about porting apps from the iPad to the Mac. Last couple of apps we need from the iPad are the Translate and the Clips app. We already have Photo Booth on the iPad, but we need the Clips app since that is pretty much a much better version of Photo Booth. And I don't really know anybody who uses the Photo Booth app on a Mac. If we were to get the Clips app, this would make macOS a whole lot better as a whole, along with the Translate app, since I just use Universal Control, and I would rather not use Universal Control just to get a Translate app on the Mac. Okay, there was definitely a missed opportunity when inventing the Apple Silicon Macs. So we know how apps can run natively from the iPhone and iPad onto the Mac, right? Well, Apple made a little mistake right there. They decided to allow developers to opt out of it, resulting in not a lot of apps actually taking advantage of this. We have like the most bare-bone apps that take advantage of this, and some people even created tools like Play Cover, but even apps have decided to block that. What I think Apple should do is force every single iPhone app, every single iPad app to run on the Apple Silicon Macs. And if it doesn't run that well, they would just get a bad review for user experience. And this was also synced with the iPhone and iPad reviews. And the design for iPad tab would get removed as well, and there would be a way to detect for the Mac. I just think there already is, since developers have been able to prevent their iPhone and iPad apps from running on the Mac. I want Apple to end all this stuff. If they block the app gets immediately removed from the App Store and stuff like that, because this kind of hurts Mac gaming. And taking a look at both Windows and Chromebooks, you see a bunch of Android apps running on those. Yes, there's a translation, but Apple kind of has the benefit here. They're just not taking advantage of it. They're allowing developers to not have their apps run on the apps on the Mac. Every single app is supported, it's just that developers just don't want it to run. This would also increase the keyboard support for the apps as well. For example, we can get keyboard support for every single iPhone and iPad game, and it would just be really easy. Just make it for the iPad, it would also work on the Mac, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Just have every single iPhone and iPad app run natively on the Mac. Don't let developers choose anymore, just force them to run it. If they choose not to optimize for it, that is what the point of a developer beta is. It's just their problem. They just need to deal with the complaints and the bad reviews and stuff like that. And I also just want to say this right now, if the developer has like a separate app, they'll be able to combine that separate app with their iPhone and iPad app, and they'll just be able to override their iPhone and iPad app from running on the Mac with the Mac app. But once again, if developers just choose to make a completely blank app like a troll app and be like that, the app will just get removed from the App Store, both the iPhone and the iPad version. Like, Apple kind of missed a huge opportunity with this. The next thing I want in macOS 14 is a way to quickly delete apps off of your Mac. We already have this on iOS and iPadOS, but this has never been done on a computer before, and Apple could be the first people to do it. They just need to have an app install, find out what files it adds. If you right click on the app in the Finder and press uninstall, it would uninstall the data as well, and you just won't need to move it to the trash anymore. You just right click, and maybe if you were to move it to the trash, you could also move the data to the trash as well. This would make things super helpful, especially for power users who uninstall apps a lot. The thing we need are better animations on the Mac. Currently, when you log into your computer, it just logs in. There's no animation like swiping up like it does on the iPhone and iPad. Closing an app, there's no fading animation or like zooming out animation, or doesn't even move the app to the dock or anything like that, or the launch pad. That would be cool. Currently, the app just snaps away from existence. There's like no animation for closing it. This would make things very consistent with iOS and iPadOS. iOS animations are very appreciated from iPhone users, and Android users are pretty jealous that Apple really knows how to make animation. The next thing is something that pro users love on Windows, and even Linux, since Linux has copied Windows ever since Windows introduced this very revolutionary feature that has been on Windows since like 2007, I believe in Windows Vista it was introduced. It is called the volume mixer. I'm surprised macOS doesn't even have a volume mixer, and I actually use this a lot when I use Windows. I believe I should have the ability to mute certain apps without needing to like go inside the apps if I wanted to. If we could just turn off the app, maybe even the music volume could go in here when you're playing music with the new music app. Maybe we could control the system sounds in there as well, since you can do that on Windows. Like, just have each separate app in there in the menu bar. Like, if you click on the volume, you press on volume mixer and then something else will pop up inside of the menu bar and you'll be able to adjust all the volume. It's just very weird that Apple has not added the volume mixer inside of macOS quite yet. Now, next thing I want that pro users would love, and that a lot of other people would love, is a redesigned right-click menu. So this is what I had in mind. Every single action would have icons. This would also make things a lot better than Windows, since they have a right-click menu inside of a right-click menu inside of Windows 11, which is kind of strange for Windows to do. But Apple's not Windows, so Apple could do what they want. And this is what I want Apple to do. So this quick add button that I added right there would basically be able to allow you to add some pages files, keynote files, and maybe even numbers files, maybe even text edit documents, and maybe some apps could even take advantage of the quick add. Maybe Apple could make an API called quick add kit, and this would also go on iPadOS with quick add as well. So this quick add feature is basically this new button on Windows where you'll be able to make new documents, except you'll be able to have a lot more kind of documents, and developers could take advantage of this API. So that's everything I really want inside of macOS. No, we don't need a complete redesign. I think macOS looks fine how it is. We just need these features. I would literally pay a license to get all these features, but I know Apple would not do something like that. But even if they did for some reason, I would still go for it if we got everything mentioned in this video. Let me know what you want inside of macOS 14, and thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, share this with your friends, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!